Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on School as Shelter, the Stayover Program's innovative approach to sheltering homeless students. My name is Erin Patterson. I'm the Director of Education Initiatives of Schoolhouse Connection, and we are so glad that you have joined us for our conversation today. If you are not familiar with Schoolhouse, we'll give the overview in just a minute of our organization, but just a few housekeeping basics to get us started. Today's webinar will last 1 hour, and we will have time for Q&A. And so we ask that you type your questions into the Q&A box, which you should see on your screen. And today's session is being recorded. So anyone who signed up for this webinar will receive a copy of the recording along with materials in a follow-up email after, and they will also be posted on the Schoolhouse Connections website on our archived webinars page. If you're not familiar with Schoolhouse, we are so glad you're here today. We are a national nonprofit advocacy organization, and we're committed to overcoming homelessness through education. And we work at that mission in a number of ways through federal and state policy and advocacy, through a wide range of practical assistance to state education agencies, school districts, early childhood programs, and institutions of higher education. We also say that the jewel on our crown is our network of young scholars who we have the opportunity to support as they pursue their post-secondary education. You can check out more on our website, schoolhouseconnection.org. You can sign up for our newsletter, and we have a number of resources and tools that might be helpful to you in your position on the web. For today's discussion, I am happy now to turn it over to Jasmine Parks Cardona, who will tell us about the Stayover program. So Jasmine, take it away.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone on this call. I am challenging you guys to put in the chat how you're feeling today. Tell me where you're from as I get ahead and start my screen. Okay, you should be seeing my screen now. All right, so welcome everyone. This is the Stayover program. We'll be presenting a couple of information today, but your presentation and the workbook, which we'll be referencing many times, is going to be sent to you via PDF. So don't worry, you'll have all the collateral docs you need. So the Stayover program, and I'm actually going to pass it off to several members of the team, starting with Claudia.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Claudia de Larios Moran. I'm the principal of Buena Vista Horace Mann School, which is the site that hosts SFUSD's Stayover program for families from all over our school district that are experiencing housing insecurity. And this is, I believe, our 5th year of operation. And I've been the principal for the entire time. So I'm very happy to be part of this journey, and I'm happy to tell you all the story of how we got here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Annabelle Ibanez, and I'm the family liaison here at Buena Vista Horseman School. And I work very closely with the families, the staff, and the administration, specifically to be able to connect families with resources.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being and joining us today. I am Jackie Portillo. I am the Director of Community Service for Dolores Street Community Services. And also I was the program manager for the Stayover program, and now I am the director. Happy to be here.
And then there's myself. So I'm Jasmine Parks Cardona. I work at Dolores Street Community Services. I am the Director of Strategic Projects. I've been in my role for, feels like forever now. And what I do is help create awareness for the Stayover program by creating their marketing toolkit and just working to organize these sort of spaces to share with this remarkable program, but also to share inspiration on how to make your own program. In addition to the team is Nicholas Chandler. He is the social worker at Buena Vista Horace Mann, which is the school. He's worked 10 tireless years to really make this dream a reality for the stayover program. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us because he is again serving his community as a jury duty member. So we'll wish him luck and hope everything goes well on that side. And for that, I will turn it over to Claudia, who's going to introduce the program and just a little bit of the basics. Again, pop in the chat. Let's see how you're feeling this morning.
First of all, I just want to say it's amazing to see in the chat where you are from. It's incredible to see people from all over the country on this call. And it's always been our dream to not only be able to support our families in having a safe and supportive place to stay, but to grow this program and show that it's possible for such a program to exist really anywhere. So I'm really happy to see you all here. And I don't want us to be bogged down in acronyms. That's something that, especially in the world of education, we do a lot. So we want to demystify the acronyms we will be using from the beginning. So you know exactly what we're talking about. You might hear us call our stayover program the SOP for short. Buena Vista Horace Mann K-8 Community School is definitely a mouthful. We just call it BVHM. HSH, which is one of our steadfast partners, is the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing. It's a city-funded department that helps to make our program possible. CBO, we'll be talking about different CBOs, including Dolores Street. CBO stands for Community-Based Organization. Dolores Street, we usually just refer to it just like that. The entire name is Dolores Street Community Services. They are the provider of the service at the stayover program. They are the CBO that the city contracted to run its service. Dolores Street is also known as DSCS, and you might see that referred that way up in the slides. And then finally, our San Francisco Unified School District is SFUSD. So those are acronyms that you might see in the slides or us referring to today. So what exactly is the stayover program? Well, first of all, to understand the stayover program, you have to understand our school. It's no accident that the stayover program, which is the first in its kind of its kind in the United States, as far as we know, happened here at our school site. Our school is a community school, and what that means is that we strive to meet the needs of the whole child. And when we say the whole child, we mean every aspect of a child's life that they carry with them when they sit down in their seat in the classroom, right? So are they experiencing housing insecurity? And if so, how can we help their family address that need so that the child and their family doesn't have to carry that burden, so that they can put that burden down and learn, right? That's in a nutshell what we try to do as a community school on many different levels. I'm really excited to say that community schools at this point are really taking hold in our district. And so the whole child approach and serving the whole child is something that is becoming more and more common. But the reason that the stayover program happened at our school in the first place is because we are a community school. And when we saw that a lot of our students were experiencing homelessness, we knew that we needed to be able to support them by providing not only an immediate space where they could feel safe, but also connection to services that would end up giving more long-term supportive housing options. So the stayover program functions in one of our gyms at night. So our gym is still used as the place where we do PE during the day, but at night it's not in use. And so this is the site where up to 20 families can come from 6 p.m. onward, have a hot meal, meet with their case manager, discuss what their the next steps are in their housing options, and then go to sleep, take a shower, read with their children, be safe, and then leave the next day before we need to use really any part of the school for schooling purposes. During the day, our school hosts over 600 students. Again, we're K-8. So it's a very busy campus, but as a community school, again, we're always trying to figure out how to use every square inch of our property in all the ways possible to meet the needs of our community.
All right, and jumping into operations is going to be Annabelle.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to give you more of an overview in terms of what happens when families arrive to BVHM. So our families arrive at 5 p.m. They stay outside, and then at 6 p.m., families sign in. Next slide, please. Families come in at 6 p.m. and they sign in and they reserve time for a shower. Then during that time, families are also have the opportunity to have a family style dinner. They sit down together and have dinner. At the same time as they're doing this, the staff is actually, if you can go to the next slide, the staff there, the shelter monitors are setting up large dividers in the school gym that's going to allow semi-privacy and a safe space for each family. Then by 7 p.m., if you can go to at 7 p.m., families still having dinner, and this is an opportunity where there's case management that's happening, where case managers are checking in with the parents to find out what are the services that they need. It could be jobs, referrals, it could be housing resources and rent subsidies. And at the same time, it provides the case managers to be able to establish a report with the parents to assess the child's emotional well-being. Next slide. And then at 7 p.m., the janitor, it's cleaning the area. We want to make sure everything's really clean and sterile, so the families can be able to sleep in the cot, and they can transfer their items in the area. And then this is also at a time where families are continuing to shower and continue to finish having dinner. And then at 8 p.m., our families, obviously dinner ends at that time, and everyone as a big community helps clean and assist the dining area. And at the same time, families and caregivers are preparing their beds, and they assemble their sleeping mats, and they create, this creates a again, want to make sure that they have some semi-privacy and a private space for the night. And any student that needs to continue with homework, they can continue doing it in the dining area. 9 p.m. next, lights go out, and the shelter monitors, they perform a check around the whole area to ensure that all activities are being supervised, and they start their 8-hour shift. Next slide. By 1 p.m. we have, by 1 a.m., I'm sorry, there's a shift, the monitors switch shifts, and then the employees begin their shift from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. And again, this is the time when the employees continue to do walkthroughs, ensuring that everything within the gym and outside the gym, it's safe for the families. And then at 6 a.m., lights come on, families wake up, they clean their sleeping area, they put the mats and the linens away, and they get ready for the days. And this is a moment where we provide them with breakfast, so they have a grab and go breakfast. And then the staff comes in and they clean up the shelter. So the next.
Yes. So as you can see, everyone's always moving and trying to get everything done. And so there's never a point in time where the Buena Vista Horace Mann site isn't working or isn't moving. And so I'm going to pass it to Claudia, who's going to walk you through how did this become an idea all the way into a fully functioning program for the last 3 years.
Well, I'll tell you, the way that it started really was, it was a very cold and rainy winter in 2017. And we were approached by a mom who just really frankly told us that there was no warm, safe, and dry place for her to stay with her family overnight. And she asked me directly if they could stay inside of our school. And it was just one of those moments where, you know, as a person, you know, you really have to just decide whether or not you can extend yourself to meet that need. And the answer was yes. I mean, absolutely. You know, here we have a humongous building with lots of space that's not being used. It is safe, it is dry, it is warm. How could we not say yes in the face of that need? And so from there, we started to explore whether we could set up a more methodical system of, number one, inventorying the need of our family members, because we knew it wasn't just this one family, right? This just happened to be a mother who felt particularly desperate and as well connected enough to us as staff to make this direct request. But we knew that a lot of families were in her same exact circumstances. And so we started to survey the families quite methodically. How many of you are experiencing homelessness? How many of you don't have you're living doubled or tripled up, you're living in your car, you're staying in the laundromat, you're couch surfing with friends and relatives, you're in unsafe environments in neighborhoods that you don't feel physically safe around, where you're exposed to violence, or you're staying with someone who you're only staying with because you don't really have any other options. So we surveyed very thoroughly our every family in our school of over 600 people. And what we found is that out of that number, over 60 of our families were in dire circumstances. And so we took this information to our local community leaders and said, we need your help. We can offer the space. What we need is for you to help, create the infrastructure for this to happen. And there was will at the local community level, as well as the local legislative level with our community supervisor, to work with our school district to utilize our building in a way that had never really been even conceived of previously. So we began having community conversations once we started getting green lights, including from the mayor's office and the Department of Homelessness, which was willing to explore this as well. Some of the community conversations that we had surfaced parent and neighbors' concerns that it just wasn't going to be safe to invite people that were experiencing this level of poverty and insecurity in their life onto a school campus. And so we really did our best to identify exactly what the questions were that they were holding, and then come up with really solid plans to mitigate any of those concerns. And we're talking about months of ongoing conversations to pull people in and not just reject their fear of the unknown, but to work with them to make our program even stronger.
And just to staple in this fact, Claudia's being very, very modest and generous. She had to basically physically bang on the doors and be very adamant about this. We are doing this. What can you put in place for it to get done? We're not accepting no. Even when thrown challenges like getting a $10,000 security system, which they knew was completely far blown. They made it happen. They made it get done, because as a community school, it wasn't something that we can just blindly ignore. Even when there were staffing issues, or even when there were different obstacles in the community, Buena Vista Horace Mann remained the champion of the people, remained the champion of the community, and made sure, if parents are worried, we're going to make sure that we're hosting town halls that are language justified, so that everyone had a say no matter what language they spoke, and make sure that we address those concerns and that we take in consideration what are the obvious safety fears, or what are the obvious just bias. Because many times, and I know Claudia will say this herself, we heard, well, why do we have to do it? Why is it our responsibility? Why can't some other place do it? And so it was coming back to the town halls repeatedly and saying, this is our concern. This is something that we have to do. If not us, then who?
And I just want to mention the vast majority of our parents and 100% of our staff are very much behind this effort. And so that while there were parent concerns, it was a strong and politically connected minority. And I'm not saying that to dismiss their voices, because again, we really tried to center those concerns and make sure that they were folded into what our plan would be. But for the most part, the way that we were able to move this forward is because we had strong community support, not just from within our building, but also as the Mission District, which is a really socially progressive area in our city. And the other thing that I want to say is that the mayor's office was willing to take this on as a pilot because they and the Department of Homelessness understand that we are in a crisis, a housing crisis, and we need to do better at serving our students and families that are the most vulnerable. And so the first year in 2018, we became a pilot of the city in terms of offering 60 more shelter beds than they had been able to do previously. And they took a lot of data, very elaborate systems of data to see not only how many people we were housing, but also what happened to them after their stay in the gym in terms of moving on to more longer term and supportive housing options. And at the end of that year, the mayor's office determined that this was a really good investment, and we became a permanent part of the mayor's housing stock. And so I think it goes to show that you need to be willing to enter into an exploratory conversation, especially, with goodwill, and especially understanding that you're going to have to jump over a number of hurdles in the beginning to substantiate your approach. And then hopefully you'll come out the other side, and the stakes won't be so high because you've already got a good system in place.
And with that, and based on what Claudia said, is that it took not just BVHM and our community, but it actually took the city, the Department of Homelessness and Supportive of Housing, the Compass Family Services, Catholic Charities, Dolores Huerta, the city and county of San Francisco, for all of us to really come together and open this the stayover program, which we opened in 2019 to not just the families at BVHM, but to families across the city that have children within the school district. And so that was the first year that we opened it to everyone in the city, to families in the city who have children in the district. Next slide. And in order to come to the program, we have 3 main referral access points where families can actually access our shelter program. One is through Dolores Street Community Services. They can reach out to our program director, who will connect them to the access point and place them in the shelter that same very day. Families can also go through access point throughout San Francisco, and they would help them and assist them in completing all the initial paperwork so they can come to our shelter. And the other point that's also really important is that if any child at any school site within SFUSD, they can let them know that they are housing insecure, and the school social workers will be able to connect them through the program so they can spend the night at our school or stay here. Yeah. And with that, next slide.
Yes. Before we jump, I wanted to interject that this became a 3-pronged program so that no child could experience this and fall through the system, as we created all of these components in order to make sure that if you didn't have secure housing that night, you were going to have options. Because at the end of the day, it's the worst case scenario that you end up at the stayover program. We actually want you to get connected to resources way before that point. What Nick would say if he were here is that the stayover program is a gap, yes, and it's this amazing program, but it's sad that we have to implement this. The real thing, the real challenge is to get and approach families before they're seeing this housing insecurity, before they're at that point. What I challenge some of the people in the chat to do is, if tonight you had no place to go and you cannot put family or friends, where would you go? And that is the question that was really troubling the Mission Dolores community, because most people, majority of people, do not know the resources that are available in their community. So if you didn't have any friends and you didn't have any family, raise your hand. I know where I would go, or I know that I would go to the X and X place because they do shelters, or they do shelter programs. And if you don't have anybody, this is highlighting what that gap was for many of our families at BVHM and in the entire school district. So I'm going to pass it back to Annabelle, but like I even get chills because it is hard to recognize the services when you so direly need it. That's the last thing that you want to do, not have a place to stay that night. And so creating all of these prongs, if they needed a place tonight, they can go to Dolores Street, or they can go to Access Point, or they can go to a social worker. And all of these resources were able to not only help you with all the paperwork, help you with it in your own language and give you that placement that night.
And absolutely. And that's why we work really closely with our community partners to ensure that there's this 3 referral places where they can access. As you mentioned, we should be the last resource. Families should be getting all the services, and we should know, and this is one of the things that I want to be able to say. And in BVHM, we try really, really hard to ensure that we meet the needs of the families and the students, and making sure that we're connecting to referrals and to services before we get to this point. And this is why having 3 services, places where families can get access, is really, really, really important. Families need to be able to know that there's Dolores Street Community Services, that there's the access points from the city where they can go. But also, it's really important to understand and to know that the staff at the school sites throughout the district can also connect them to these services, being that this may be their last resort. And many times it may be the last resort for families. So one of the things that we as a community is going, I believe that this is something why we work really closely too with Dolores Street, is when we're looking at our families, we really look at through the trauma-informed lenses. We need to make sure that when families are in need, the families, what do we understand what that means, instead of like saying, okay, we're going to judge you and we're going to do this. However, that we need to be able to understand what is happening to families and how do we provide them and connect them with the services. And we also need to make sure that we are actually talking the language and that they understand our language as well, which is language justice, where we're helping families be empowered, instead of making a family who may come and say, you know, I need a place to stay, there's this situation, that we actually are able to understand and not judge the families, that we are actually, let's be honest and let's be real, in this country, everyone is 1 foot of becoming homeless. We're all 1 check away from being homeless, the vast majority. And so we need to be able to ensure that our families are not feeling judged, that our families feel that there's a resource and they're here to support us, and that we're going to work with them to ensure that they get those services. And then we work through this process in doing case management, making sure that we're working closely with the families, making sure that we're working and providing them again with the resources once they're in our shelter, that they're being connected with broader community resources. Yeah.
So now Jackie, the program manager, or the previous program manager of this, actually set the pillars for some of these concepts and ideas for Dolores Street within Stayover program. And she's going to walk you through how she transitioned this authentic environment of trust from the school and put it into the Stayover program with our families.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hi, everybody. Being a part of the program manager and program director now, the Stayover program, let me really connect with families. And that was the point. We see the shelter or the albergue or the Stayover program as the place where the families can grow. We receive the families with warm and caring welcome. We don't see the situation, we see the family, we see the dream, we see the energy that the families is still bringing, even in that situation. And that was the reason the trauma-informed care lens is the most important, because we really accept it and we create a collaboration. It's not me helping, it's working together to try to make the space perfect for everybody grow. We work to have dream with the kids. The fact they don't have house, they don't mean to the kid the dream stop. We dreaming together. We work together to make this dream true, and we are a team with the language because we have many people speaking different language. We use the resources that the school district have it, that the city have it. If they don't have the language, we use Google Translate. And this is really helping us to communicate with the family. When we speak the same language, even through a phone, is a magic because we are breaking the barrier, the communication. We are telling to the family they are important. We are telling them that we are there for them. And working in an amazing case management where the school district staff, school staff, Dolores staff, and many partners, we try to support the family in the best way that the family want to work their process because we respect that. We can have this amazing idea that the family can go in this path, but the family at the end have the last word if we are there to support them. I'm going to talk about my favorite part is the success of stories. Um, can you click to see the first story? Yeah, this is one of my favorite. This family coming is immigrant coming to the shelter in a winter and a Christmas, and they was very shy because there's a family they have an eviction. They have their own place and coming with us. When we start talking with the family, this was very resentful. They don't want to talk too much. But when they see how we welcome, how we eat everybody together for dinner, how we plan parties, how we celebrate birthdays, the family is still warming up. The family work very close with the access point and with the social worker from the school for the kid. And now they have their own apartment. And now it's something that we like to see in the shelter is the transformation. Coming with a place that we don't have any hub, a place where we can see the family blossom. We can see the family really fight for the dream, and we are there just to support them. And we are part in a really hard moment of their life, but now the moment and the time change. And that was to have any, yeah, I don't want to say any price. Okay, can you go to the next one, please? There is going to show the collaboration that we have with the school, with the teachers. The teacher see a family, see a kid that something is going on, and this is also this collaboration led us to do some modification in the structure of the shelter. For example, because the teachers reported that some of the kids from the shelter are sleeping in the classroom, we modified the schedule. We moved the schedule at 9 p.m. In this case, Ms. Chavez, see that her student was sleeping with us, and then we start working together. And she offered the opportunity to be in the shelter. And at the end, we set a routine for the kids. The kid, because wasn't the MBBHM, he go directly to the classroom, and he start reading, and suddenly he starts changing the behavior. What does it mean when we work together and we help the family to be stable, to create a routine, to create the support? We change the life to the kid, and you can see that in the classroom and any place that the kids and families go. And that was the reason this program is amazing. And yeah, we're happy to really to share more, but I think I don't have more time. Maybe I can share another one. I'm more than happy to do it. Okay, good. Because the collaboration and the work that we do with social worker, advisors, teacher, we can see how we impact the performance, the academic performance of the kids. When we do that is, for example, every week on Mondays, I meet with all the kids. And I pay the A at $1 and the B at 75 cents and the C at 50 cents. And then you can imagine how they are motivated and bring me the test and bring me the report card to let me know that they did well this week and they have some money to get something. I can do this because I have a really amazing group of volunteers. There is really doing the impact that we needed to support these kids. Is when you coming to see the kids as your own kids, not with someone in the shelter. Is when you have the same expectation that you have for your kids, you have for these kids in the shelter, and they are amazing. I just got a text from one of my high schoolers, and they say, "I come up. Can I go?" He want to do some trip with her girlfriend. He said, "Can I go with my girlfriend? I go from C to D. You say they are going up, you're going to give me permission." And I'm so happy because they take serious. And then it's you making that happen. You working and that team, they really believe that this kid can do better. And really our shelter is safe, is warm, is human. We make mistake, we learning from the mistake, we because sometimes cultural we have some difference, but we learning from that difference, and we are in have a really enrichment place. Go the next, I think it is.
Yes, the next slide. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know about you, but every time that I hear Jackie talk about the stayover program, I like get a little tear, and I'm like, no, don't cry. It's not that kind of. But it's because of the passion, and because as you see, she's not caring about their situation, but she's addressing the trauma, and she is serving our families with dignity. She's making sure that you're not seeing any situation, but just the fact that someone can be happy. I got 100 in my spelling test today, and I'm gonna get $1. I don't care that I'm sleeping in the gym. It's not, oh, poor me. It is, wow, I'm doing something amazing, and I'm getting things done even while I'm here. And so when I hear Jackie's voice, I just start to tear up. And it's even overwhelming when you go to the site and you see all these kids light up and circle around Titi Jackie, and it's just like, oh, give me that big hug. So
Yeah.
So
No.
really the heart and soul of the program. And I'm going to play for you a recount of one of our previous SOP families and just what she was going through, what her experience was like at the stayover program, and how that continually changed her life.
Had to leave, but my ex-husband kept her. So before I entered the program, I was married for a very long time. And when I decided to leave, I was originally bouncing like from relatives' houses. And then I was all alone in Sacramento. So I had one uncle, and then I had my daughter's grandpa on her father's side. And I went to my uncle's house, and it was fine. And he never told me I had to leave, but my ex-husband kept threatening like violence, and I didn't want, it was really still fresh, and I just didn't want that kind of drama there. And I was renting a room, which was fine. But but then my children were abused by their father. And then so all 4 of us were in my one room, which, as you know, is very expensive in San Francisco.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I couldn't, so I was trying to even just, like, I could afford junior 1 bedrooms, and I was at first putting 3 kids, which I know is lying, but I was trying to do what I had to do.
Yeah.
And no, they were like, no, you can only have 1 person. And then I even found like a 2-bedroom apartment in the Avenues, and they told me that I couldn't have, and I could, all 4 of us, then they told me I couldn't have it. Maximum was 2 people. So I was feeling really distraught. And then the person I was renting a room from no longer wanted us there because 4 people versus 1 person, they didn't want. So then I started couch surfing on friends' houses, but that was just really stressful because most of them were already in housing. And so they couldn't exactly have people living there. So finally I ended up I went to Catholic Charities, and they referred me to them. And so from, I believe May 3rd was our first night, May 3rd till November 10th, we were there. But we felt safe. We knew what time we had to come in. We knew we were going to have dinner every night. We knew we could shower either at night or in the morning. I turned down single room occupancies twice because I knew the environment was safe for the children. I knew all the employees. I was really terrified of inappropriate things possibly happen. I was terrified of it because that happened to me as a kid, not in a shelter, but those are my fears. So I literally turned down 2 single room occupancies where we would have had our own bedroom, shared kitchen. But I knew this situation. I knew that we were there at night. I knew the employees were trustworthy. The first few nights I was a little restless because they walked in and checked every hour. They didn't stand over you or anything. It was just my own personal fear. But I loved it. I loved Jackie. Obviously there comes a few issues, but mostly it was with the other, I guess, tenants, you could say. It worked really well for me. And honestly, it was just nothing but God, because something amazing popped up. And now we have our.
What she wanted to finish saying is now that she has her own place. She has a 2-bedroom apartment for her and her 4 kids, and she's been there for the last 3 years. And so that is the kind of powerful recounts that most of our families have, because there is no time limit with the stayover program. You can stay as long as you like, leading to so many families exiting the program to secure housing, not exiting the program to a different shelter or transitioning, exiting to secure housing. And I pause there because that is just so powerful to know that you're in this situation, you go to the stayover program, and you're able to open all of these doors and save money while you're there. And it's not just a shelter or just a gym floor that you're sitting down on and you're laying with your family. Jackie and her team make it a home, make it a family. Many times she's giving laundry detergent for those, or giving small gifts to make sure that she's going that extra mile. And it's not because it's her job, it's because she is seeing the whole person and she is serving with dignity. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the numbers in the stat report. So up to date, we have served over 1,104 families through the stayover program. And of those 1,223 families have exited the program to secure housing. And what you'll see in a lot of our financial reports is all of this was provided with just $34 per bed per night. And so it really boils it down. Everyone's always thinking, okay, well, how much does this cost you? How much are we doing? What are we pulling down? And then you see $34 and it's like, that's attainable. That can be done. And it's it started off as Buena Vista Horace Mann, and it completely exploded for the San Francisco Unified School District. And now 104 schools have this network. So they're able to refer students to the stayover program outside of their school. And it is open to all of public school students. And so while this program is amazing and it is our pride and joy, and we are so proud of it, the real pride or the real instance comes from being able to share this program with everyone on this call today, and how they can R&D, rip off and duplicate this program and put it in any situation, or put it in any district or any environment and have it thrive. And so we've created these collateral documents, which really outlines our step from A to Z and how you can do it yourself. And even if you don't want a housing program, it walks you through if you want to set up a daycare or set up any programs within your district. And I challenge anyone to put in the chat, what are some hurdles that you're seeing in the system? What are some breakdowns that you're seeing? And what would it look like, or how would it just even make you feel if you started the building blocks today? Because Claudia and her team at BVHM, you saw they started with just a question, how can we get this done in 2017? And it didn't even come to fruition in 2019. So what can you get started today that will come to fruition in 2 years from now, or that will really make a change for so many families or students or parents? And so some of those collateral docs look like the stayoverprogram.com, where any user can go to our website and look at a program overview. They can look at this presentation with their team. They can look at operations. What does it look like on a staffing wide? How do we send out a press release? But then also they can look at our digital workbook. And our digital workbook works through comprehensive questions on who do I need to make those relationships with. When Claudia talked, she talked about working with all of these different components. I'm going to work with the city, or I'll work with the community, I'll work with CBOs. And so it's understanding where do those relationships come from and how you can cultivate them, and who do you need to rub elbows with and make sure that you're making that connection to make a successful program happen. Because what Nick will tell you if he were here is it's going to take a lot of convincing, but it's also going to take a lot of persuasion to make or to convince other people of the value of the program before it started, and convincing them to do just a little bit more than what their job entitles. For our supervisor, they're not used to sitting down in town halls with parents, but they did a little bit more than what they were asked. For our parents, they're not used to going to every night town halls to think of shelter programs and shelter answers or programs and innovation. Sorry, the word is not coming, but they're not used to having those conversations. So it's pushing them and nudging them to do just a little bit more effort. And together they were able to make the stayover program. And so with that workbook, it's how do you introduce this to teachers? How do you introduce it to the community at large? And then another thing is our comptroller's report. We touched on this a little bit. It is the report done by the city to evaluate the success of this program. And so it really looks down at the financial aspect, the qualitative and quantitative data that outline what the financial obligation looks like for this school and for this model. So any funder or any foundation could look at this and replicate it for any school or replicate it for any site. And then the last thing that we have is program tours. If you think that we were phenomenal on Zoom, imagine being knee deep in the program and seeing the actual students and seeing how this, what feels like very simple operation, goes into many layers of making a dignified, trauma-informed environment for all of our students. And for going beyond what a community school or what a shelter is promising to do. It is that promise to our community that makes us better. And so I want to thank everyone for attending this call, for working through it with our team. We're going to open the floor to questions for Q&A. And so I really want you guys to flood it. What is your deepest thought? Flood it into the Q&A. And even if we don't get to it today, we'll be sending out all of the collateral docs, and we'll actually personally, everyone on this call, address all the questions that you may have. And thank you so much for everything.
Thank you all so much for sharing about this amazing program. There's been so much affirmation coming through the chat. We have more questions than minutes left, so I appreciate your offer to follow up with people offline, but I'm going to try and guide us through some of the more common questions that have been coming through. The first is there was sort of a bucket developing around funding, and people curious to know what the funding sources are and how you manage to cover the cost of additional staff and food, and relatedly, how it was cleared through a risk management or business office. So if you could speak to that.
Claudia, did you want to take that question?
I can speak on behalf of the school district side. So it's property of the school district that is essentially gifted to the city for use by the stayover program from essentially 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., let's say. So we had to enter into an official MOU with the city of San Francisco to lease out for like $1 our gym and the adjoining room, which is where we stage dinner, and it has the showers embedded in it. And so that covers all of the risk management aspects. Again, I'm oversimplifying because this took, a long time to hammer out, and people were like, what, anything can happen. How are we going to be covered? There's liability. It's an understatement to say that the district was very wary about entering into this agreement, because that's not the business of a school traditionally, right? So we really had to push from a number of angles and just appeal to them as like a community school actually is supposed to offer wraparound services to students, to the whole child again. But that is how we, I don't want to say gifted, but that's sort of how we rent out for free the part of our building that's being utilized by the stayover program. And then the city of San Francisco issues about $800,000 to $1 million a year to the Dolores Street Community Service organization to run it from top to bottom. So what the city offers is essentially a check to Dolores Street, and then Dolores Street takes care of all the on-the-ground services, including custodial. Like, our school district doesn't have to take care of any aspect of running this program. And I did see there was a question in the chat, like, what happens if something is broken or there's a horrible incident? And I'll say that in the entire time that this program has been up and running, including during the pandemic, we've never had any kind of an incident that the school had to become aware of and involved in. It's entirely handled in-house by Dolores Street. And that's something that we promised from the outset to our families and neighbors. And I'm just really happy to have that realized.
That's super helpful. Thank you. Sorry, Jasmine, go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say all of those formal documents, like the memorandum of understanding or the joint use agreement, all of those are on our website, where anyone could just plop their information as refillable forms. And so you can get started.
That is amazing. I think you're definitely going to have some folks take you up on that and visit your website after today's webinar. I want to try and group a few questions that I think are under the same category here, just about sort of the individual's process. So a couple people want to know if it's required that a student is attending school in the district in order to gain access to the stayover program. I see nodding heads, so that's a yes.
Yes. That was the requirement, be enrolled in San Francisco Unified School District.
Thank you for that. That is helpful. A couple people have asked about unaccompanied youth, if it's necessary for a parent to be with a person if they're staying, or if unaccompanied youth are able to gain access.
Yes, we needed the parents be with the kids all the time, but we have few cases from unaccompanied minors that they stay with us because they were enrolled in San Francisco Unified School District. was 2 emergency cases that we really let them to be with us.
That is helpful. Thank you so much for clarifying that. And then a couple people are curious sort of about the process of letting people know that this is an available option, and is there a wait list? And then once you are able to spend a night, is it first come, first serve? Sort of if you could walk us through that aspect of the program.
It's 3 different ways to come to us. Usually word of mouth is one of the most incredible things, because a family was there, they find another person in the street, in the laundry, in the market, and they refer to me, they give it my phone number, and they come in directly. The only requirement is be enrolled in San Francisco Unified School District. Going to the access point is the place where we receive all the house people, and then they can be an enrollment and they can refer out to us, or through the school district, through the school social worker. The school social worker is our, or anybody, they have the phone number or the place for the information for the stayover program, can come to us. If we are welcome. The capacity that we have for right now is 69 people, probably between 20 and 21 families. And we try to keep the capacity all the time. Yeah, we don't keep waiting lists, because families come every time, and then it's first come, first served. The families can stay with us the time that they need it. It's no limitation in that. We have, I think the family that longer stay with us was 11 months for the pandemic, but that they can stay the time. And when they go to the access point, they start the process to qualify for another shelter or for another housing program.
That is very helpful. Thank you for taking all of those questions. There was another question that several people had about what happens on weekends or school holidays. So if you could speak to sort of how you're able to help coordinate shelter during those times for families.
Yeah, we are open, because in Saturday and Sunday we are 24 hours, and holidays and recess time with the school. We serve, and the families can stay the whole day.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I think I'll do one more question, and then just want to note that several people have asked for contact information to be able to reach out to your team. So if you all wouldn't mind putting that in the chat, or if that's on a slide, we'd love to have that on the screen as people exit today. And then the last question that I want to pose is just people asking if there is a school bus or other transportation available in the mornings to get students to and from the stayover program to their respective school sites.
No school bus, but all the kids in San Francisco travel free, and the bus system. We don't have the kind of problem they really. But also we have a collaboration with San Francisco Transportation, and we provide bus passes for the parents.
That is wonderful to hear. I do want to thank Jasmine for putting your contact information in the chat. Thank you so much for that. Want to encourage folks, if you have more specific follow-up questions, please do reach out to the team, and we will share their PowerPoint and collateral materials in our follow-up email to this webinar today, and that will also be posted on schoolhouseconnection.org on our archived webinars page. I want to thank our participants so much for attending today's conversation. Thank you for your enthusiastic engagement with our team via the chat and Q&A panel. And thank you especially to the Stayover program staff. What you all are doing is amazing, and we are so grateful that you took the time to share about it with us today. With that, I will wish everyone a good afternoon, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks, you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.